We have had a bunch of cold weather snaps come through here, and I have been having to layer up, sit under blankets, wear my fingerless gloves in the camper. But one of the things that I do to try to heat up the camper, and it works really, really well, is I cook during the day. So I'm going to show you today some of the things that I've made this week. Hi, I'm Bonita and I am early retired. I'm not old enough yet for Social Security. I'm living on a low income and I am living off of savings. And right now I'm spending the winter in my RV in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. I normally live in Kansas. I have frugal videos all year round, and I hope that you will join me this year in 2025 as we share ways to save money and live our dreams. It's raining and in the 50s today, so I have one breastbone of a chicken that I have in a little tiny pot here with some parsley and salt. I'm just going to simmer this on here today to make myself a little batch of homemade chicken broth to go in my cooking and to also warm up the camper without running the heat. It's only been 1 hour, but the broth is already starting to look more like chicken broth and it smells wonderful in the camper. As you can see, I also use the skin. I don't eat the skin, so I put it in my broth, and a lot of times it will just cook up to nothingness and add to the flavor of the broth. So you can make chicken broth with as little as one breastbone with the skin. And that's what I'm doing today because it is just me in the camper and I didn't bring any of my frozen broth with me from home. So I need a little bit of broth because I do not want to buy it. And now I have a couple of cups of broth to put in my freezer. The weather down here can be really strange. Sometimes I can change my clothes 3 times during the day. You'll get up and it's cold and you'll wear long pants. Then sometimes by the middle of the afternoon, it's too hot and you need to put on shorts or maybe a sleeveless shirt. And then about 5 o'clock when the sun starts going down, it's cold again and you need to put back on your pants. So sometimes it can wear you out changing your clothes during the day, but we really haven't had that kind of weather. It's just been chilly. Not so chilly at night that I've had to move in any of my plants. It has still been above freezing, and all of my plants do well as long as it's above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so I've left them out there. But I need to prep during the week anyway. When it's rainy and cold, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to leave the camper. I don't want to go shopping. And I have stuff here to do it, and it heats up the camper and makes it smell wonderful. Even making the coffee in the morning just makes the whole camper smell wonderful for hours. So let me show you the next thing I made for meal prep this week. Cooking is one of the best ways to heat up a RV really fast. So since it's cold outside, I'm doing more cooking. I have room in my fridge to cook something else so I can rotate my meals. I have 1 carrot. That's all I have left right now going in the back pot there. I have about 3 potatoes going here. That's just about using up all of my potatoes. And then I have onions and celery from my garden here that I'm sauteing. And I am going to make a vegetarian shepherd's pie. I have a can of tomato sauce. I have a can of green beans. And I have this little container that is well used, well loved, that I am going to mix up, and it should fit in my fridge just perfectly. So I poured my tomato sauce in here. I'm also going to add the green beans. This is a recipe I have not made in a really long time. I made it when the kids were small, and when they were small, we did upside down shepherd's pie. The mashed potatoes would go on bottom. I would make them in a separate pan, and then we would put the mixture on top. It just made it easier for them to eat, and it's a really good recipe, and I'm excited to try it again now that I'm here by myself. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic salt to give it a little bit of a garlicky flavor, but I don't want to add too much because there is salt in the tomato sauce. But you can add any spices that you want to this. I will probably add some spices on top of the mashed potatoes when I'm done, like paprika and maybe even some parsley, but you can do whatever you want to make this your own. I'm going to add in my sauteed vegetables. We're going to add in the carrots next and then make our mashed potatoes to go on top. I'm also going to add pepper. And I think this is going to make this container full enough. It's going to be a nice full container of vegetables for me to put my mashed potatoes on top. Again, I'm just cooking with what I have on hand in the camper to make my food stretch. Yeah, that's going to be really good. Just about perfect. I did not bring a potato masher, so I just used my fork to mash these. It was really easy, just making do with what I have. And then I have a little bit of plant butter in there. I have a partial container of plant cream that I brought with me to use up. And I'm just going to mix that in until I get it to the consistency that I want, and then spoon it over my shepherd's pie. Some of you had asked how to cook for one. This is what I do. In fact, my husband doesn't even like shepherd's pie, but I do like it. So this is an opportunity for me to make a few things that I like while I'm down here without him, and also to make meatless dishes, which I prefer. He likes meat. So this will make me a bunch more meals. It was super frugal and it will fit in my fridge. And then when I'm ready to eat it, I can just stick it in my oven and brown the top. You can add more spices to the top. You could add cheese to the top. Anything you want to do with this, and it is finished. When my kids were young, I made that with hamburger, and it's one of those dishes I haven't made since they were small. So was that chicken noodle casserole that I shared with you in another video. So sometimes when we think back and revisit some of those recipes that we made when our kids were still at home, when we were trying to make our money stretch and our food stretch, we can make those again when we are in retirement to save money. A lot of times I look back at those as some of the poor man meals that I made when my kids were growing up. But many of us in retirement are also trying to stretch our dollar just like we were when we had a house full of kids. So revisit some of those old recipes. Maybe it's been long enough now that you might actually enjoy them and not look back on them as something you ate when you were just too poor to make anything else. I feel like I'm a good cook, but I also feel like I'm a lazy cook. I hate doing dishes. So I will prep several meals that I can rotate through my refrigerator so I don't get tired of what I've made on hand. And then when I get down to the last portion of one of them, I will make something else to add into the rotation. Now, I get tired of cooking just like everyone else. And one of the things that I brought with me is this vegetarian ramen noodle 10 pack. I will add Swiss chard to this. I bought it at one of the Asian markets before I came down here. One of my friend's sons owns it and operates it. It's only $4.99 for 10 of these. And I will add my Swiss chard from my garden into that. And then on the side, if I happen to have any Backstock or cheap boxed stuffing, I will add a little bit to the side with the juices and have like noodles and stuffing. Sometimes I have some instant mashed potatoes that I bought on sale in my stock, and I will add a little bit of mashed potatoes to the broth and have like noodles and mashed potatoes. So I always keep a few things like this in the camper to fall back on, so I'm not tempted to go out and go through a drive-through and buy something. That's not something that really tempts me that much. I struggled with it just a little bit last year because I hadn't really lived in town and I knew that was available, and I was purchasing like a pizza like once a month, but I decided this year I wasn't going to do that. So I do this to try to give myself options. Then when it's rainy and cold like it's been this last week, I have something to fall back on. I don't have to go out and get wet and get cold. I have everything I need. I can cook to heat up the camper. So it's the best of both worlds and it's really kind on my budget. I've shared with some of the long-term viewers before that I don't meal plan. But if you are new to the channel, you're probably wondering why I don't meal plan. That's something I've never done because I look at what I have in the fridge first as far as leftovers. And I don't know how long some of that might last, and I want to make sure that it gets used up. So by not meal planning, I am forced to use what is in my fridge until that is gone. I usually have in my head 2 or 3 options of things that I could make next, depending on what I feel like I fancy at the time. Yesterday, when I was looking at what I could make, I really didn't have any idea. I had used up a couple of things. I had one serving of something left for my dinner, and I looked through the cabinets and said, hey, I have what it takes to make shepherd's pie, and I can use up most of my potatoes. I can use up my last carrot. So I just look around at what I have and figure out what to make from that. I only shop specials and clearance. I bring it home, I put it with what I have, and I figure out what to make from that. But I don't meal plan to save money. I feel like meal planning might encourage me to pick up extra things to go in that meal that I had planned. And by not meal planning, I have to use what I have here and be creative to come up with what I'm going to eat next. I know there is a weird sunbeam here. I hope it's not making anybody crazy because it is really bugging me. But anyway, thank you all for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the description box. I really enjoy visiting with all of you, and I appreciate you all so much. If you could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up or hit subscribe, it would help me so very much with this channel, and I hope to see you soon.